When a narcissistic woman does not get what she wants, the first thing that begins to crumble is the illusion she has carefully built around herself. Narcissism is not grounded in authentic self-worth, it is a performance, a projection of confidence and superiority designed to mask a fragile and insecure core. Her identity relies heavily on control, admiration, and the belief that others will bend to her will. When reality defies this expectation, the mirror she holds up to herself cracks, and the polished image she depends on starts to fracture. This is not merely disappointment, it is a deep psychic wound. For someone whose sense of self is inflated but hollow, being denied feels like annihilation. It shakes the very foundation of the false self she has cultivated. In Jungian terms, the shadow begins to reveal itself, the part of the psyche she desperately avoids but can no longer suppress. The illusion of power evaporates, leaving a raw exposure of fear and inadequacy. And because she has never learned to integrate these parts of herself, she reacts with hostility or despair, seeking to patch the broken illusion at any cost. The collapse of illusion is always the first step toward truth, whether she embraces it or resists it. When the illusion begins to crumble, her instinctive response is to intensify the very tactics that once gave her power. Emotional manipulation becomes her weapon of choice. She will turn to guilt, painting herself as the one who has been wronged. She may gaslight, distorting facts and rewriting events until others question their own perception of reality. She might even swing toward seductive charm, trying to reawaken loyalty through flattery or false promises. All of these maneuvers are designed to restore her sense of control, to reassert the dominance she feels slipping away. But underneath these tactics lies desperation. The narcissistic woman cannot tolerate the idea that her influence has limits, because her identity depends on being able to bend others to her will. The more she feels this grip loosening, the more extreme her manipulation becomes. It is not rational strategy, it is survival. To her, resistance is betrayal, and betrayal must be neutralized. Yet it is in this escalation that her weakness is revealed. For the more she manipulates, the more transparent her motives become. What once seemed like charm is exposed as control. And when manipulation loses its hold, truth begins to break through. When charm and manipulation no longer bring the desired result, something far more primal begins to surface: rage. This is not simply irritation or anger. It is what psychologists often call narcissistic rage. To the narcissistic woman, being denied what she wants is not a minor setback. It is experienced as a direct assault on her very sense of self. Her carefully constructed persona depends on constant validation, and when that supply is cut off, her ego perceives it as annihilation. The rage that erupts is the psyche's attempt to defend against this unbearable threat. This fury may take many forms. It can explode outward in verbal assaults, accusations, and attempts to humiliate or intimidate, or it can implode inward, turning into cold silence, withdrawal, or calculated punishment. In both cases, the aim is the same: to reassert control and to make others pay for the wound inflicted upon her pride. Beneath the surface, however, this rage is less about power over others and more about terror of collapse within. It is in these moments of rage that her fragility is most visible. For what she calls strength is only a mask, and what lies beneath is fear. when rage fails to restore control, the narcissistic woman often turns to one of her most practiced defenses: shifting identities. She wears masks not as a matter of choice, but of necessity, because her sense of self is not grounded in authenticity. Instead, it is a performance crafted to elicit the response she desires from others. She may present herself as the charming partner, the nurturing caretaker, the righteous authority, or the helpless victim, all depending on what she believes will regain her influence. This rapid switching is not true adaptability. It is desperation disguised as versatility. Each mask is designed to secure attention, sympathy, or compliance, yet none of them reflect who she really is. And the more often she must change these roles, the more apparent the hollowness at her core becomes. To the discerning eye, the cracks show. The transitions appear forced, rehearsed, even mechanical. What she reveals in these moments is not power but emptiness, not depth but performance. This is the paradox of her strategy. In trying to prove she is everything, she exposes that she is, in truth, nothing solid. And once you see through the mask, you can never again be deceived by the performance. When power, manipulation, and rage no longer deliver the outcome she craves, the narcissistic woman often retreats into a posture that feels safer: victimhood. This is one of the most deceptive strategies she employs, because it cloaks her in the appearance of vulnerability. By framing herself as the misunderstood, mistreated, or abandoned one, she seeks to awaken sympathy and guilt in those around her. In her mind, if she cannot command obedience through fear or admiration, she may still extract compliance through pity. But this victim role is not genuine surrender. It is another attempt at control. It is a covert way of bending reality, a manipulation dressed in fragility. What makes it effective is that it exploits the empathy of others, particularly those who are compassionate by nature. The danger lies in mistaking this collapse as weakness, when in truth it is simply another mask, another maneuver in her arsenal. Yet, ironically, this role exposes her deepest truth. For beneath the facade of superiority, what truly drives her is the terror of being insignificant, unseen, and unloved. And when she clings to victimhood, she reveals that the empire of her ego has always been built upon fear. When every mask fails, and no strategy restores her control, she is left face to face with what she fears most: the void within. This is the point where the narcissistic woman encounters the terrifying absence of the identity she has worked so hard to project. Without validation, without admiration, and without someone to manipulate, the carefully constructed self-image collapses. What remains is not strength, but emptiness. And in that emptiness lies shame, insignificance, and the haunting sense of being unseen. This inner void is not just psychological discomfort, it is an existential crisis. It reveals that her power has always been borrowed from others, never generated from within. Some may respond to this exposure with greater desperation, cycling back into manipulation, rage, or victimhood. But for a rare few, this confrontation with emptiness can spark the beginning of transformation. Jung often spoke of the necessity of meeting the shadow, of acknowledging the parts of ourselves we spend a lifetime denying. For the narcissistic woman, this moment of collapse is precisely that invitation. Whether she embraces that truth or resists, it will determine everything. For the void can either destroy her illusions or open the door to genuine selfhood.